The Concise Dictionary of English Etymology also agrees that Nick is the devil. Old Nick was a well-known British name for Satan. The Greek name Nicholas means the conqueror of the people. Revelation chapter 2 verse 15 reads, "So you also have those who adhere to the teaching of the Nicolaitans or the Nicolaitans, which teaching I hate." The teaching of the Nicolaites came from their teacher Nicholas, who taught them that it was okay to eat food sacrificed to idols and to commit whoring, to make the children of Israel stumble. This is most likely the origin of the saint called Nicholas of the Roman Catholic Church. In the 1600s, a series of plays were developed starring a character known as Robin Goodfellow, who was a half-man, half-goat demon. In The History of a Hobgoblin, author Alan W. Wright reveals that Robin itself was a medieval name for the devil, and that Robin's trademark laugh was ho, ho, ho.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Ho, ho, ho.
In Scandinavia, the winter festival was Yule. In the Chaldean language, Yule means the infant, the child, referring to the baby Tammuz. Apparently, the Scandinavians borrowed the term for their winter festival. On December 21st, Odin, who was the chief deity, would fly through the night on his 8-legged horse, which would symbolize the 8 reindeer of Santa Claus. Odin was represented as an ancient man with a long white beard. His idols portray him with a pointy hat, like the elves and Santa Claus wear. People feared the wrath of Odin, who had come to take the spirits of the dead. They would leave treats and grain offerings for Odin and his horse. Spirits would roam freely during this time of the year, and the worshippers would try to communicate with these spirits. Evergreen trees would be brought inside to represent eternal life and the conquering of death of the sun deity. Mistletoe was revered by the Druids. Mistletoe has no roots in the ground, therefore it is seen as a gift from the heavens.
People, I'm Jenny Metherell and I am a 4th generation witch. Today's video is all about the witch's Christmas, which is that of Yule. First of all, I want to give you a tiny bit of history about Yule. Not much, just a little bit, so that we understand why we celebrate this as a witch's Sabbath. Yule is part of the pagan wheel of the year. Yule is, of course, in the depths of winter. It is when the world is at its darkest. So this, the darkest point, is like the conception or inception of the new year. Yule was a big deal. A lot of our ancient Celtic and pagan ancestors did associate Yule with their goddess Bridget or Breed. Now, when the Christian faith came over to the UK and spread its religion amongst our local populace, they took over the goddess Breed and claimed that she was the midwife to the Virgin Mary. I think it's rather clever, so therefore they incorporated the pagan belief into their own mythology. One of the reasons why we would decorate our houses with mistletoe at this time of year is because this was the sacred herb, and it's well known that this is the time when the Druids, wearing their sacred white robes, taking their golden sickle, which resembles the new moon, would go and cut mistletoe from the branches of the oak tree, where they probably planted it in the first place, but you know. And this is the most sacred mistletoe to be used in their rituals. Mistletoe, of course, those beautiful white baubles that it has as its berries, is associated with the moon, and so is midwinter. This is a moon festival. Our ancestors considered that the sun stood still for 12 days from the start of the solstice. And this is where the word solstice come from. Sol is Latin for some, sistere is to stand still. It was considered that the sun stood day for 12 days, which is a bit like the 12 days of Christmas. It was Pope Julius I who brought the birthday of Christ, Christmas, into the calendar on the 25th of December. This is so close to the solstice as to almost, surpass it, take it over, incorporate the pagan ways into the Christian mythology. They also have a 12 days of Christmas, which is a blatant taking over of the pagan Celtic thought process that the sun did stand still for 12 days. And this was when you made merry. Christians did it, the pagans did it, the Celts did it, the Germanic tribes did it, the Scandinavians did it. 12 days of Christmas is a big deal, and it starts on the solstice. Now, of course, part of merrymaking is the giving of presents. It is something that has been going on for centuries and centuries, if not millennia. The winter solstice was also a time to bring in the evergreens. Evergreens symbolised life when all about us is dead and decaying. Evergreen wreaths are pretty standard throughout all cultures. And so, an evergreen wreath on your door is, again, wonderfully pagan, and I thoroughly recommend. And finally, we have the Yule log. And this was a log, preferably ash from the ash tree, which was a symbol of life. It was brought in to the home, and one end was pushed into the fireplace and lit. And then as it got burnt, which hopefully lasted for 12 days, the rest of it was pushed in too. This log would have been decorated with greenery and had libations of wine or cider or beer poured over it. It was a big sort of celebratory focal point for the household. Alternatively, you could just light a candle every single day for 12 days, starting on the solstice.
Saturnalia, Christmas and the winter solstice. Solstice meaning stationary sun. Here the sun is at its weakest, giving us short cold days and long cold nights. At this point, the sun appears to stop moving, as though it is dead for 3 days, only to begin a new cycle by moving 1 degree north on the morning of the 25th of December. This, in astrological terms, is the birth of a new sun. The birth of Christ is astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, and which, on December the 24th, aligns with the 3 stars of Orion's belt, known as the 3 Kings. Lined up, these stars all point to the position of the sunrise on December the 25th. Therefore, the 3 Kings follow the star in the east to locate the birth of the new sun. Winter solstice also marks the transition from the zodiac sign of Sagittarius to the sign of Capricorn. A festival in ancient Rome called Saturnalia took place in honor of Capricorn's ruling planet, Saturn. This week-long festival marking this transition was a time of merrymaking, beginning with a sacrifice at the temple of Saturn. A public holiday and banquet followed. Gifts were exchanged and roles sometimes reversed, where slaves could be seen enjoying limited liberties as they were served by their masters.
Keep going.
And they have to be carried, for they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither is it in them to do good.
There it is.
So this crow that they're talking about, it wasn't only just used for Christmas, it's also used for Halloween.
You said no, they got different shit for Halloween. But we ain't talking about Halloween though.
Yeah.
We talking because we can use the whole segment talking about Halloween. That's the devil day.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah. So we ain't talking about that right now. We talking about the other devil day, which is Christmas. See, people don't know about horrors and all this and the Saturnalia and how that connects to this day. Yeah, people don't know about that, so that's why we putting this knowledge out there to let our people know that this is a pagan holiday and we ain't supposed to be worshiping no Saint Nick.